Let's have a look at the PWA you will be making as we go along the course, working with the lessons and using them. And if we click and we go into Lab, Build, you'll be working through each of the modules. This is the start, end solution if you need it. End solution goes into the beginning of the next module. So when we get to the very end, you will have built this either by using code in the lessons or in this folder structure, or by coding it yourself. And what we'll do, I'm in live server, I'm just going to open up, and first thing I'm going to do is actually clear all the contents as we've been doing in our lesson, clear them away so everything's fresh. And now I'm also going to clear my browser history as well, so we can clear everything nice so you can see things as they start. Lovely. And what we'll do is we'll take this link, and when we run it in here, you'll notice you get the install button up here the first time. That's why I cleared the browser cache, because if you've been to the site before, it won't do that. It'll just give you this icon here. So we can install it to our desktop, or we also have for Chrome and Edge the ability to have a user-friendly button. Let's click that. There we can see that's our app. And if we close down everything, all my windows, there's the button. And I've kept these things as different colors so that you can see how we can configure them in the manifest file. So there is that link there. If we close this down, we now have either our add to home screen on our mobile or on our desktop. So there it is. And when we want to clean this one and go back to the site, uninstall, clear all data, remove. Lovely. So we'll go back again into the website. We've seen that. Close that down. Close that down. So we're in the home page, that's fine. We'll be going into DevTools a lot. Straight away we can see our manifest file here. We can see our service worker index here. We can also run a lighthouse test, and let's just do it for progressive web app. So we'll go through that to see whether we know it's a progressive web app because we've been allowed to install it. But as we go through the class, we'll see that we can actually work on all of these different things. It gives back some useful feedback of things we have to correct. Some are on the server, but we can see we've got a progressive web app. We'll close that down. We'll move into the application tab. Notice how when we loaded the page, I preloaded data from a blog, for example. So we have blog in our IndexedDB. We also save files in our cache storage. So that's basically like our own web server. And for example, if we refresh the page, we can also store every other item that we use. So if we go to posts, for example, you'll see that that table has now been, that page has now been added. Articles up top here, contacts, etc. I'm going to delete this cache because what I want to do is now show that with this we have our online, offline. Straight away we're shading the background, we're detecting when we're online and offline. And if we're ever offline and we go to a page that we haven't yet cached dynamically, because this is our kind of shell that we're doing to start with, notice how we get a graceful fallback page. It can be customized based on what page we actually asked for. So if I come back here, I click on posts, we're getting them, we're seeing those contacts. This is going to the randomuser.me. We can see, for example, a new database has been added and we have all our users here. Now if we go back offline, we can see our page works, posts work. So we're now fully back with an offline website because we have an IndexedDB, our own database here for our templating pages. We're storing cache details here. And one other thing that became useful, what we can see, is if I do here, page-cache, and save that, what I'd like you to do is notice down here that we can have intelligent pages. As I hover over here, notice how we get a page cache, a new cache formed with those two pages, because we've already gone over here. If we delete this cache again, let's do that again from scratch. Let's refresh the page. If we come into the first one, we see we've loaded sample 01. When we go over the second div, we've loaded it. Now these could be clicks, these could be mouse overs, any different, but this is how we can make intelligent pages, preload them. So for example, if I go offline and I try and click it, we get that page simply because we've stored it. If I come back here and delete this cache, go back online, and for example, if I go back to home, sample 01. If I now go offline and click for sample 02, there it is. That's because it's also been loaded in dynamic cache. There it is, sample 01, sample 02. If we delete those, and then go back to square one, go into the home page. Now we've not loaded those in, sample anywhere. If we now go offline and ask for that page, let's see what happens. We get a graceful page, but we don't actually see it, because as we saw in this form here, what would happen was, because we don't have that page, rather than getting the dinosaur, we just get our custom fallback page. However, if we now go back online, go into home, go into page cache, load in the page, there we see it in that one there, load another one, go offline, go back a page, sample 01, now we've loaded it. So by using this kind of feature, we can actually preload pages from the web page itself without the service worker. So we can constantly be loading new information, managing our store to ensure that we have content available immediately offline. So if we come back into the form, one of the first things we're going to do is also enable notifications. So let's click back to a default state here. So if you come to enable notifications, we need to click, we allow it. There will be a message popping up here to show that we've notifications. Because I'm recording, it would normally appear along here down the side, but it gets hidden because of recording. Now, if we type anything in here, firstly, we get a message back. We will also get forms successfully being sent. So it's a notification. But what is of interest is if we're offline and we do exactly the same. In fact, what we'll do is we'll go back online, refresh the page, go offline, subscribe. It knows it's offline, so it says form information has been saved. We've actually saved that in our form data here in our IndexedDB. When we're back online, the message gets sent. We can see that in the console. We can suddenly see all these tasks being heard, notifications heard, sending message, etc. And if we look in here, we will see yet again. So what we can also do is, if we do this many times and close down this window, we will sort of see actually those messages piling up here, because it works regardless, see more 11, even if your browser tab is closed. So going back again into that particular page, we've seen this is the sort of app we'll be building, covering all of these different aspects. And if you look at one of the other videos for the dashboard, you'll see that there's some other functionalities that we'll be keeping that aren't actually displayed here. But this gives us a very fast, near instant website available offline and able to be intelligent, because we can download data and pages as needed in advance before the user gets there.